We've been looking all this week at the relationship secret hidden in plain sight in your Bible, Ephesians 5:33. We've also been diffusing the crazy cycle that impacts both marriages and families. I hope that you've had many light bulb moments. Well, we have a new project from the Eggerichs, and just as a little warm-up, here's just a couple of minutes that illustrate how meaningful a father-daughter relationship can be.
Hey, I just, really want your wisdom and insight of where to meet a good man these days. It's difficult.
Well, I think I need to give some thought to that, but, I think several ideas, I guess, come to mind now that you asked that.
Craigslist. What about a hardware store? I was thinking Yanni concert, Chuck E. Cheese, Backstreet Boys reunion tour. They say men are from Mars. Join NASA, roller rink.
You could hit up the club. I was thinking about conventions like the Star Trek convention, Comic-Con, and then there's the all-male unicorn convention.
What about the subway station?
Or Subway, men's department, Macy's.
Wow, Dad, that was really insightful. I just didn't know that you had all that wisdom. I think I've got to go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just say, before you begin, that my father is such a champ for doing that. I had him come out to Portland where I live to do this Illumination Project that we're going to talk about, and it was like a day or two before, and I was like, my camera guy and I have these ideas for these short little clips to play between the segments, and he went with it, and well done.
Well, but
Thank
you didn't find anybody at Macy's.
I didn't, but I feared that might ruin his career if those videos leaked, but now all of Canada knows.
All of Canada, it is part of the Illumination Project, and it is so full of fun and spontaneity, and I found myself wanting to speak back into everything that was being discussed. Father and daughter on lots of subjects that young people especially would love to hammer it out with. Tell us about the Illumination Project.
Well, to begin with, she lives in Portland, Oregon. Portland is where the 18 to 35-year-olds have moved en masse. Word got out that a father-daughter were going to be doing a presentation. She got the word out among various friends, and it was a Friday night from like 6 until midnight. We're going to have musicians and poets and different things. 1,300 showed up, and they stayed the whole time. They were hanging from the rafters with the hunger to hear what a father and daughter had to say about marriage, love, relationships, and life in general.
Okay. I haven't even properly introduced you for people that haven't been with us all week. Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, who is the love and respect guru. I mean, I'm sure you have seen this book, the concept, transformational for all kinds of couples. Even when I've spoken on this, Dr. Eggerichs, I have to say, two women came up to me at different times and said, if I had known this, I'd still be married to my first husband. That is how potent it is. Joy Eggerichs, the youngest of your 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And Joy, I'm going to quote you. I had a strong visceral reaction to wives must respect their husbands. That is how you felt even as you were directing your parents' conferences from 2005.
Yeah.
You had a change of mind.
Yes, I mean, it wasn't an overnight change of mind, but I was going to school across the country from where my parents lived, where I grew up in Michigan. So I was out in California, and that's when you were working on the book around 2000 to 2004. I was in college. And so I really had no clue what he was working on. I was in my own world. And I was a communication studies major, loved gender communication and things like that. And I remember when the book came out, then him talking to me about it on the phone, and just the idea of unconditional. So unconditional love towards a wife. I mean, that was something that I was like, yeah, preach it, that's great. And then when it got around to unconditional respect, that's when that visceral, like, whoa, hold the phone, what are you talking about? And I realized well, first of all, I was embarrassed. Our last name is Rare. I was like, people are going to know that it's associated with me.
It has a silent S on the end of it.
It is. We're
That's
crazy
kinda-
Germans.
yeah.
I don't know why, but. And so I really pushed back on him because I was like, Dad, no. That's really not what God, I'm sure, intended by that verse. And the word respect, you're going to set women up for all kinds of abuse. And so I just felt like I was more enlightened than he was, because I'd been in 4 years of undergrad and, discounting all of his years of academia. So that was the start of many conversations about, what does God intend with this message? Is it there to help or to hurt? Is it there to empower men and women or make women a doormat? And so it was a year after college. They needed someone to direct their conferences, and as I mentioned to you, who doesn't want to tell their parents what to do? And so, I directed all their speaking engagements, and so then I had to be there. I had to listen to him teach the entire conference, and I would stand at the back of the auditoriums, and I would watch him make a point, and then I would watch heads of couples, unless they were in really bad problems and they were separated, but they were most of the time sitting together, and I would watch their heads turn and be like, oh yeah, that's us. And they would like nudge each other, they would laugh. And it was just really interesting because he would be making this point and I'd be like, well, that's good, but it doesn't impact me the way it seems like these people are having these life-altering moments. And so at first, because when they first started doing their conferences, it was people more their age, who had been married for 20 or 30 years. So I thought, because I was so smart since I'd gone to college, I thought, well, this is a generational thing. My parents have come up with this message and they're helping their peers, but that doesn't really apply to my generation. And then I started waiting at all the book signing tables to help move people along, and I just heard testimony after testimony, people with tears in their eyes going, why didn't I know this 20 years ago? If only I knew then what I know now, kind of like your girlfriends have said. So I took stock of that, I paid attention, and then I started just being prayerful of like, Lord, is this a generational thing or is it an experiential thing? And maybe because I haven't been married for 20 or 30 years, it's not resonating with me as deeply. But if God's word is true, and if this message really does help people, then that means that my generation, my peers, are going to be saying in 20, 30 years, why didn't anybody tell us this? And maybe they'll be like your friends on their second or third marriage.
So why not be proactive?
Yeah, exactly.
And you caught the vision.
Well, not right away. It wasn't until I went through heartbreak of my own that it was a season where I stopped working for them and I felt super broken and I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And he knew that I was kind of on the brink of hating men and being skeptical of marriage. And so in that space, again, my parents were really gracious with me, just as they had been in my accepting of the message.
Can I just have Dad interject here? Because I know you wanted to run away and die somewhere.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, but you need community.
Yep.
Not okay, but
Yeah.
we get it that you want to change the geography.
Yeah.
You would go to L'Abri, which is another whole chapter. Very significant in the formation of this ministry. But Dad, your counsel to a very broken daughter in a depressed, dark place may sound surprising, but I'll tell you, this was a light bulb moment for every one of us who've read this. Please take us to that.
Well, maybe she can speak to that herself, but I said, at this point, what you need to do is serve. When you're
I
at this
can't get out of bed, Dad. What do you mean?
Exactly,
serve?
and but I think individuals in the ministry, pastors, have recognized something that's very powerful, that we can be depressed, we feel discouraged, maybe everybody's got bigger churches, everybody's got their issues, everybody feels discouraged. But Mrs. McGillicuddy's in the hospital and she's not feeling well, and she may die, and so you go and you minister to her, and then you leave the hospital, you realize I'm refreshed, I'm re-energized, the Lord used me. There was a sense that God showed up on the heels of me choosing to serve. And so there's a basic principle that when you're down, when you're really depressed, don't turn totally inward. At that moment in your own pain, when you have your own issues that no one else seems to care about, seek to give and it will be given to you. It's more blessed to give than to receive. These are not just platitudes, these are to be applied in the moments of misery. And when we do, we make a discovery. And that was the counsel I gave to her. Don't forget to serve. In your greatest moment of need, reach out and serve other people.
Well, and let me interject and just say, I feel like because my parents were being prayerful about where I was at, I would say to parents out there who their children are going through something like this, it wasn't, the day after the breakup, my parents were like, get to the soup kitchen, they gave me that time to grieve. And then I also remember pretty specifically that you didn't tell me I had to serve. He just encouraged me to be open to it. Because I was in bed, I was depressed, and I think I didn't immediately get out of bed and go serve, but he planted that possibility that maybe the Lord would show up in the midst of my brokenness, in the midst of me feeling like I had nothing to give, and it stayed there. And it wasn't until many months later that I started to see what could possibly be, because I opened myself up to that prayer of, okay, Lord, if you want to do something, go ahead. Little did I know that it was going to then be in the area that I felt most broken in, and that was relationships.
And the ministry that God birthed, I just love the title, Love and Respect Now. And that's what you saw, working with your parents' conferences, that these truths need to be understood ASAP, not as a kind of recovery reality, but going into all of your relationships and especially marriage. And so tell us what the Lord has done.
Well, we were excited at the turnout of who came to the live taping of the event. I knew I wanted to capture something. I knew my generation likes to watch videos as opposed to come to a conference. And so I was like, let's capture this. And I also love art. I would not say that I could paint to save my life, but I love all the different mediums of artists and that are in Portland where I live. And
so we've got musicians singing their songs. I love the woman who's been married a year and a half who just spoke very, very candidly and vulnerably about her position. Lots of other testimonies, and it's quite a different package.
Yes, it is. Even down to just the quirkiness of me loving unicorns.
You might even see a unicorn.
Or 13 or 14.
In the 6-week adventure. It's designed to be a 6-week study.
Yes.
Half an hour of it is DVD. Dad is the expert.
Yes.
You pose the questions with some very interesting responses. And I love the non-homework homework. Tell us some more of the features that...
Well, the non-homework homework is because I think I didn't really love doing homework. If anybody did, you're crazy in my opinion. But I knew that, I've taken some classes in coaching as opposed to counseling, and I love the concept. I love counseling. I go to counseling. But coaching to me is this approach of, let's take where you are right now and where you want to go, and you just help the person figure out what it is that they need to do, but you don't force them to do anything. And so the same thing with this journal. I was like, if people are told that they have to do this homework every week, it's going to be more of a task as opposed to a transformational thing that they choose to do. So I'm like, we've got these journals, and I have written all these things, and I've it comes with colored pencils because there's drawing aspects to it. There's
I'm unpacking the box here. This is one of the DVDs, two of the sessions actually.
I just know people learn in different mediums. So it's kind of like, do what you want, but when you do it, be engaged because you want to do it. To me, that's where transformation happens. So those are the journals.
The journal.
We wanted something that would be cool to, hold in a coffee shop. And hopefully people would be like, oh, what's that? And then they could have conversations about what they're going through.
Posters, pencils, and you even got gold stars in here.
Yeah, people might think that some of the elements to this are a little bit weird, but they were all done with intentionality. So my heart is that the church specifically would, come together in different ages and stages to do this project.
Intergenerational.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's because you've got another generation participating.
Yeah, and I think that's after doing my website for 5+ years of having people write in and ask me relationship questions, I started to feel like a broken record because my mind was, well, I can't really tell this person what to do because I don't really know them. They just emailed me, And so most of my emails ended with, please find someone who knows you. Find someone who's older, who's wiser, who loves you, who possibly knows this person that you're in relationship with. And if you're a believer, that they're a believer, that they will pray with you. And so this whole idea of seeking older, wiser counsel was something that I just kept coming back to. So then with the Illumination Project, I knew you can't just have a bunch of like-minded people in the same group. Otherwise, you're not going to grow as much as if you vary it.
Exactly. Mentoring is at the heart of this.
Yeah.
And boy, is it going to get you talking. These are all so conversational topics because they relate to our lives. And where can we find more about this project?
Well, you can go either to my parents' site, which is loveandrespect.com. That's where you can purchase it in the store there, or to watch trailers to really. I have a bunch of clips so you can really
You're
make
all
sure you
over
want to get
YouTube.
this.
You
YouTube, but
Joy.
loveandrespectnow.com/the Illumination Project.
And remember that the foundational truths are right here. Love and respect in the family, love and respect, the classic, the launch of it all at our e-store. This has been delicious, and we're going to have you back, Joy, for more of your personal journey. So millennials, stand by. I know we don't like to use that term a lot, but you know who you are. And thank you for this week. It has been marvelous.
Thank you.
And I know hearts have been stirred. I know parents who feel they failed have been encouraged. I know that some of you need to call our prayer line. And we're here for you, to encourage you, to believe with you. Maybe you're on that crazy cycle, and we want to help you get off. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Eggerichs,
Thank
Thank you.
and take our love home to the rest of the family.
Will do.
Yes.